In 2025, Arlington Public Schools in Northern Virginia found themselves at the heart of a storm that would soon capture the attention of the entire nation. What began as a local policy decision quickly escalated into a flashpoint for a much larger, deeply divisive debate. The district became the epicenter of a national debate over transgender student rights, drawing in parents, students, activists, and politicians from across the political spectrum. News crews camped outside school buildings, while passionate voices filled community meetings and protests erupted on school grounds. At the center of the controversy was a fundamental question: should students be allowed to use bathrooms and participate in school activities that align with their gender identity, or should access be restricted based on the sex listed on their birth certificate? For many, this was not just a policy issue, but a matter of personal dignity, safety, and belonging. After months of heated discussion, Arlington adopted an inclusive policy, allowing transgender students to use facilities and join teams that match their gender identity. School leaders cited the importance of upholding student dignity, complying with state laws, and fostering an environment where every child could thrive. But the decision reverberated far beyond Arlington. The Trump administration responded swiftly, issuing an executive order that mandated schools nationwide restrict access to bathrooms and activities based on biological sex at birth, framing it as a matter of fairness and safety for all students. The Department of Education backed the order with a stark warning: any school district that failed to comply risked losing critical federal funding. Letters were sent, meetings were held, and the pressure mounted on local officials. Arlington now faced a stark and difficult choice: stand by their inclusive policy and risk losing millions of dollars that supported teachers, programs, and students, or reverse course and comply with the federal mandate, potentially betraying the trust of vulnerable students and their families. This was no longer just a local dispute. Arlington's stand became a test case for transgender rights in schools, and a symbol of the ongoing power struggle between local school districts and the federal government. The outcome would set a precedent for communities across the country. The decision would ripple outward, affecting not only Arlington students and educators, but also shaping the experiences of countless young people, teachers, and families nationwide. Communities everywhere watched, wondering how their own schools might be impacted. The stakes could not be higher. With national media coverage and political leaders weighing in, the eyes of the country were fixed on Arlington, waiting to see what would happen next. For many, this moment echoed past civil rights battles in American education. The fight for equality and inclusion was once again playing out in school hallways and boardrooms, with a new generation at the center. The battle lines are drawn, and the outcome will help define the future of civil rights in America's schools. Arlington's policy wasn't radical or hastily assembled. Instead, it was the result of thoughtful conversations, careful planning, and a genuine desire to create a safe and welcoming environment for every student who walks through its doors. Rather than making headlines for controversy, Arlington's approach was a deliberate effort to affirm and protect transgender students, ensuring that no one felt invisible or left behind. Under this policy, students could use restrooms and locker rooms and join sports teams that matched their gender identity. This wasn't just about access, it was about dignity, respect, and the right to participate fully in school life. The district pointed to state laws and federal court precedents, making it clear that discrimination based on gender identity is, in fact, sex discrimination under Title IX. This legal foundation gave the policy both strength and legitimacy. Their stance was clear. Arlington wasn't just being progressive for the sake of it, they were upholding the law and doing what they believed was right for their students and community. The second pillar of the policy focused on student well-being. School leaders recognized that affirming a student's identity is crucial, not only for their mental health, but also for their sense of safety and belonging at school. Forcing students into facilities that don't match their identity can lead to increased anxiety, isolation, and a higher risk of bullying or harassment. Arlington's policy aimed to prevent these harms before they could take root. This approach reflects years of evolving understanding about gender, identity, and the unique challenges faced by transgender youth. It's a recognition that schools must adapt as society's knowledge grows. Chris Wilmore, a district supervisor, summed it up: "We're following our interpretation of Title IX. Students participate according to their identity." For Wilmore and others, this was about more than compliance. It was about fairness and respect. The policy stands as both a legal and moral commitment to inclusion, signaling to students and families that Arlington values every individual's right to be themselves. For Arlington, inclusion isn't just a policy, it's a promise. It's not just permissible, it's necessary, and it's the foundation for a stronger, more compassionate school community. In January 2025, President Trump signed an executive order reversing protections for transgender students. The order mandated that access to sex-segregated spaces be based on biological sex at birth. This was a direct challenge to inclusive policies like Arlington's. The Department of Education quickly enforced the new rule, threatening penalties for non-compliance. The language was clear and forceful, leaving little room for local interpretation. The order bypassed nuanced discussions, imposing a rigid federal definition. School districts like Arlington suddenly faced a stark federal ultimatum. The conflict escalated from local policy to a national showdown. The fight for transgender student rights had reached a new level. Arlington officials didn't back down. They became vocal defenders of their policy. Communications Director Frank Balavia argued the district was following both state and federal law, citing the Virginia Values Act and key court decisions. He insisted that changing the policy to comply with the executive order would actually break the law, referencing a recent federal court ruling. This flipped the narrative. Arlington wasn't defying the law, they were upholding it. Health Supervisor Chris Wilmore highlighted the legal conflict with the Department of Education. Officials framed their stance as a defense of both student rights and local authority. Their message, creating a safe environment, is their legal and ethical duty. Arlington's leaders stood firm, determined to protect their students. The district's resolve became a rallying point for supporters of inclusion. Arlington wasn't alone. Other Northern Virginia districts joined in defiance. 5 major school divisions formed a united front against the federal directive. This regional alliance provided strength in numbers and political cover. The collective action made it harder for the administration to single out any one district. Their unity showed Arlington's policy wasn't an outlier but part of a regional consensus. The alliance lent legitimacy and credibility to their stance. This was no longer a local dispute, but a regional rebellion. The message to Washington: this is a fundamental disagreement, not isolated dissent. The stakes and the voices had grown much larger. Defying the federal order came at a steep price. The Department of Education labeled Arlington a high-risk grantee, threatening to cut off federal funding. This designation put millions of dollars for essential programs at risk. The message was clear: change your policy or lose critical resources. Even affluent districts rely on federal funds for special education, lunches, and more. The threat forced Arlington to weigh its principles against its fiscal survival. The administration used financial leverage as a powerful tool. The district now faced both legal and financial battles. The cost of standing up for inclusion was becoming painfully clear. Arlington's future and its students' well-being hung in the balance. With millions of dollars in federal funding at stake, Arlington's school district found itself at a crossroads. The stakes were high, and the district's leaders knew that inaction could mean devastating cuts to vital programs and services for students. Determined to defend their policies and protect their schools, Arlington took a bold step. They filed a lawsuit against the Department of Education, launching a high-profile legal battle that would draw attention from educators and policymakers across the country. The district's legal team worked tirelessly, preparing arguments and gathering evidence. Their goal was clear: to overturn the federal government's high-risk label and defend Arlington's approach to student rights. At school board meetings, officials debated strategy late into the night, aware that the outcome could set a precedent for districts nationwide. Arlington's attorneys argued that the federal government was overreaching its authority, pressuring the district to adopt policies that, in their view, infringed on the rights of students and local control. They claimed the department's demands amounted to coercion, forcing the district to choose between compliance and the well-being of its students. To shield its schools from immediate harm, Arlington requested an injunction, a court order that would temporarily protect its federal funding while the case was decided. The district hoped this would buy them time and keep essential programs running, but the judge denied the request, leaving Arlington's schools financially exposed and vulnerable. The mood among district officials was somber as they left the courthouse, knowing that the loss of funding could have real consequences for students and staff. In September, the court delivered another blow. The judge dismissed Arlington's case. not because of the arguments presented, but on the grounds that the court lacked jurisdiction to hear it. The district's legal challenge was halted before it could even be fully considered. Arlington's legal gambit had failed and the threat to its funding remained as urgent as ever. School administrators pored over budgets, searching for ways to make ends meet in the face of mounting uncertainty. The district was left in limbo, with no legal protection and growing pressure from both the community and federal authorities. Teachers and staff worried about the future, unsure how long they could continue to serve students without critical resources. The setback underscored just how difficult it is for local districts to challenge federal authority. The legal system, with its complex rules and procedures, offered no easy answers. Arlington's fight was far from over, but the path forward was shrouded in uncertainty. The district faced tough choices, and the outcome would shape its future for years to come. The legal battle had only intensified the stakes, leaving Arlington schools and community anxiously awaiting what would happen next. Arlington's confidence came from a landmark case. Gavin Grimm versus Gloucester County. Grimm, a transgender student, sued for the right to use the boys' restroom. The Fourth Circuit Court ruled that Title IX protects transgender students' rights. This precedent was binding in Virginia, giving Arlington legal backing. Communications Director Balavia cited Grimm as proof their policy was not just allowed, but required. The Trump administration's order directly contradicted this court ruling. Arlington was caught between a federal agency and a federal court. The Grimm case cast a long shadow, shaping the district's defiance. Arlington's standoff is a national flashpoint in the struggle over transgender rights in public education. The conflict raises fundamental questions. Who do schools protect, and who decides? For transgender students, the stakes are immediate: safety, dignity, and the right to exist. For schools, the case highlights the impossible position of navigating conflicting laws and political pressures. The threat of lost funding forces educators to become legal and political strategists. Arlington's saga is a new chapter in America's civil rights story. It tests the balance of power between local, state, and federal authorities. The fight is ongoing, and the meaning of equality is being redefined in real time. The struggle in Arlington is a reminder: civil rights battles are never truly settled. They're fought anew in every generation.